Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, grade 9th subject chemistry. Today we will start the new chapter of unit 2, that is chapter number 4, structure of molecules. So part 1, let's move towards the concept web. Structure of molecules. In this topic we have to cover the chemical reactions, then chemical bonds and intermolecular forces. Whenever we study the chemical reactions, we will study how substances are formed. In chemical bonds, we will cover two main types of chemical bond, that is ionic bonds and covalent bond. In intermolecular forces, we will study about the dipole-dipole interactions and hydrogen bonding. This is the main concept of this chapter, that we have to cover in this chapter three main topic: chemical reactions, then why do atoms react to form the substances, then move towards the chemical bonds and its definitions and its types, and at last we will study the intermolecular forces and its main two important types. So let's move towards the first topic, that why do atoms react with each other. There are the three reasons that atoms react with each other. First one is the completion of octet and duplet, means to complete the octet and duplets atoms react with each other. The next one is to acquire the electronic configuration of the noble gases. The last one is to gain the stability. For these three reasons atoms react with each other. Why atoms want to acquire the electronic configuration of the noble gases? Noble gases are the elements in the periodic table. They have completely filled outermost shells, either it is S or P. So these are stable and non-reactive and inert gases. So every atom want to get the electronic configuration of the noble gases for the purpose of stability and for the completion of octet and duplet. So let's move towards the chemical bonds. So first we will study that what are the chemical bonds. These are some sort of forces of attraction, means whenever we study when atoms combine to form the substances, so what things hold the atoms together in that substances. So these are the forces of attractions that holds the atom together in substances. These are basically electrical in nature. These chemical bonds, these forces of attractions are electrical in nature. So let's move towards the types. We will study the types of chemical bonds. There are the two main types on the basis of tendency of an atom to share, to gain or lose the electrons. So first type is ionic bonds and the next type is covalent bonds. So first we will see the ionic bonds. Ionic bonds, these are formed between two atoms. What kind of atoms? The first one is metals, the second one is non-metals. It's mean in ionic bond, these two atoms, first one will be metal and other one will be non-metal. These metals and non-metals react with each other. How they react? So let's see. Metal in the ionic bond will lose the electron, means metals have the tendency to lose electrons. Then in non-metals they have the tendency to gain the electron. When metals will lose electron, these non-metals will gain that electrons. In this way, metals by losing the electron they become cations and non-metals become anions. So these three things are there. The ionic bond between two atoms. What kind of atoms? Metal and non-metal. So we can say that depending upon the tendency of an atom, in the ionic bond one atom will lose the electron and other will gain that electron. In this way ionic bonds are formed. So whenever the metal will lose the electrons, it become ions. So here the brief description about the cations and anions. Cations are the positively charged ions, means we are saying metals are losing electrons. So whenever they lose the electron, they become positively charged ions. Let's see the example. Sodium. Sodium is a metal and sodium positive is a positively charged ion, that is called cation. The next one is anions. What are anions? Anions are the negatively charged ions, means whenever the metal are losing electron, they become cations, and sodium is the best example of cation. When the non-metal gains the electron, they become negatively charged ions. So the example is chloride ion. Means in NaCl, in ionic compound, Na positive is metal, that is cation, and Cl negative is a chloride ion, that is anion. So let's summarize the ionic bonds. The main definition: the forces of attraction that binds the oppositely charged ions. Means in previous slides I have told you about the oppositely charged ions, cations and anions. So we can summarize the definition of ionic bond: the forces of attraction that binds the oppositely charged. Means we are saying that ionic and chemical bonds are forces of attractions. In ionic bond, these forces of attractions binds the oppositely charged ions. So we can say ionic compounds are the compounds that consist of ions joined by the electrostatic force of attraction. So let's see the example. Sodium chloride, potassium chloride are the best example of ionic bonds. So let's see NaCl. How NaCl is formed? Look at the diagram. The first atom is neutral sodium atom. Whenever it gains energy, it loses the electron and become positive ion, cation. Means now it has the electronic configuration of noble gas by losing this electron, and this electrons is received by chlorine atom. Now chlorine atom by gaining this electron become the negative ion. In this way, the metal, that is sodium metal, losing the electron, and chlorine, that is non-metal, gaining the electron. We have summarized that in ionic bond one atom will lose and other will gain the electron. So this is the pictorial display of the ionic compound. This NaCl is a table salt, that is ionic compound in which ionic bond is present.